Have you ever looked back at a past relationship and thought, wow, they were a mess? Only to realize, wait a minute, so were you? Or maybe you're out here swiping on the apps thinking, why do I keep attracting the same dysfunctional people? Well, my love, there's one common denominator in all your relationships, and spoiler alert, it's you. But before you spiral, I'm not saying you're the villain in every love story. I'm saying maybe you played a supporting role in the disaster. Maybe you were holding the red flag and waving it like you were guiding planes on a runway. But the good news? You could stop. This isn't about blame, it's about clarity. So let's look at 7 ways you might be the red flag and how to turn that around. That sounds interesting or intriguing. I hope you'll stick around because that's what's on the agenda. If your last 3 relationships came with 0 commitment, but full emotional chaos, you're not exploring your options. You're collecting heartbreak in bite-sized form. So you tell yourself it's just casual, but casual shouldn't feel like emotional whiplash. If you've been just hanging out with somebody for months and you still have no idea where you stand, that's not a vibe, it's a stall tactic. And let's be honest, half the reason you're not asking for clarity in this situation is because you're afraid the answer is going to be no. So you just let it go on and drift. And then you call your best friend in a panic when this person shows up suddenly on Hinge on a weekend they've completely disappeared. So how do you stop? You stop pretending you don't care. You say what you want, calmly and clearly. I'm really enjoying this, and I just want to make sure you know I'm looking for something real. Because that one sentence will either bring the right person closer or set the wrong one free. Either way, you're out of limbo, so it's a win-win. You say you're fine. You say, it's no big deal. And then you're shocked when the other person takes you at your word. Meanwhile, you're 3 days into a silent grudge because they didn't check in after your dental appointment or something. You're slamming cabinets like a woman on a cooking show with no garlic and no prize money. This isn't I shouldn't have to ask. This is I'm afraid if I ask, I might look needy. But guess what? Not saying what you need, that doesn't make you low maintenance. It just makes you resentful. Want to stop doing that? Try saying the thing, not emotionally, not dramatically, just like it's a normal request. You know what? Because it is. Hey, would you mind texting when you get home? I'd feel better knowing that you got home safely. That's not high maintenance. That's clarity. That's kindness and consideration. That's what people can actually respond to. You're on a date and they say something slightly off, off. And suddenly you're in your head. You're writing their emotional backstory like you're ghostwriting their memoir. You read between the lines, around the lines, behind the lines, anywhere but on the lines. You convince yourself it's insight, but really it's anxiety in a trench coat. One guy texted you, sure. That's it. Sure. You stared at it like it was a crime scene photo. You showed it to 3 friends and your dog. It was probably just a man agreeing to a sandwich. You want to stop spiraling? Ask instead of assuming. Say, hey, you seemed quiet last night. Everything okay? That's it. Clarity is way sexier than wild interpretation. And it saves you a lot of imaginary arguments with people who are just trying to have a day. When people used to ask me how I take my coffee, I'd say with corn and chemicals. That was how I described non-dairy creamer, the one where corn syrup was the 3rd ingredient, and the little pink packets. I use Whole Earth now, that's green, and it has stevia and monk fruit and a few other ingredients I probably don't want to Google. I know, I'm not a good person. I'm not like somebody who drinks their coffee black. I know I'm making mistakes. I know they are better than me. I know I could do better. And I'm here to remind you that you too, you can do better also. If you're just stopping by here randomly whenever you happen to see my smiling face, probably pointing at something you can't even read without your cheater glasses, well, maybe it's time to stop winging it. You can't unknow it, right? Well, might as well subscribe and call it growth. All right, now we can head back to the episode. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it. You say, no pressure, but you're already planning vacation logistics in your head. You tell them you're just feeling it out, but secretly you're assigning playlist songs to your future slideshow. The problem isn't what you want, it's that you're lying about it, and especially to yourself. You think saying, I'm looking for a relationship is going to scare people off, and it will, but only the ones who weren't going to stick around anyway. If you want to stop attracting mixed signals, stop sending them. Say what you want without an apology. I'm open to something real. I want to get to know somebody for who they are, not just for a couple weeks. That's not pressure, that's permission for the right people to step forward and the wrong ones to bow out early, which is what you want. You hurt someone's feelings, and then they tell you that. And instead of saying, oh, I'm sorry, you say, oh, that's not what I meant though. You think you're clarifying, but what you're really doing is defending. And at that point, you've made their hurt about you. And now they end up being the one comforting you. You want to do better? It's pretty easy. You just say instead, oh, I understand now. I'm really sorry. No press release or emotional resume. Let the apology stand on its own. And if they ask for more, great. Then you can explain. But if you lead with a speech, all they hear is that their feelings need to be justified. That's not love. That's PR. You feel the rush. You get the butterflies. You cancel your plans. You rearrange your schedule. You stop sleeping altogether. Must be love, right? Or maybe it's your nervous system going, oof. We've seen this before. Let's brace for impact. The high you're chasing might not be romance. It might be chaos, especially if your past relationships taught you that inconsistency equals excitement. That if it doesn't hurt just a little bit, then it's probably not real. So how do you break that pattern? Choose peace. Date someone who doesn't make you question your worth. If you find yourself thinking, this is so easy, it feels a little boring, ask yourself, or is it just safe? You don't need the spark if the flame keeps going out. You need the warmth that stays lit. You think you're just being honest. I've been divorced twice. People our age don't really commit. Everyone's got too much baggage. You think it makes you sound grounded. But what it really does is kind of suck the air out of the date before it even begins. There's no point telling every woman you date how jaded you are. At our age, you gotta expect some disappointment. That's not managing expectations. That's auditioning for a third divorce. If you want to date well, stop announcing your pessimism like it's a personality trait. Be honest, but hopeful. I've been through some things. I'm still open, though. I'm excited about the future. That one line shows wisdom, willingness. You get it. Optimism isn't naive. It's an invitation. If you recognize yourself in any of these red flags today, do not panic. That doesn't make you a bad dater. It just makes you an honest one. Most people are going to go their whole dating life blaming everyone else. You're here, learning how to show up differently. That already sets you apart. These patterns, they're not character flaws. They're just habits, and habits can change. The more you name them, the easier they are to interrupt. And the more you interrupt them, the more space you create for something better, something real, connection, respect, the good stuff to take its place. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. And willing is always a great place to start. I hope you found that interesting or helpful. If you did, you might enjoy this episode over here. And please, before you go, give my little mama here the thumbs up that she's kindly requesting. She said 100 likes is the only thing keeping her from launching her own dating advice column called Coffee with Carol. And that's not fair. In fact, it's weird, especially because her name is Lynn. Oh, don't forget to subscribe before you go. Hey, it lets me know that you're out there, you're learning, you're growing, and maybe just a little tired of dating like it's a recurring dental appointment. I appreciate you being here every day, and until next time, have a good one.